This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Next up, we've got a U.S. title match between John Cena and Rusev. As a reminder, John Cena defeated Rusev to win the U.S. title at WrestleMania 31. That was Rusev's first defeat since coming onto the main roster. Of course, he revokes the rematch clause, and it's announced that it's going to happen here, but it's a Russian chain match, which is part of the bad news segment where he says, "I'm afraid I've got some bad news." And of course, here we are. It's a Russian chain match. The crowd has started to feel for Lana. She's sort of becoming the babyface of the group. And Meltzer would say the plan for Lana's long-term right now is to be the female face of the company once her babyface turn is completed. At least that's the long-term plan this week. McMahon feels that part of the transition has to include a reveal that she's really American. The plan is to keep the Lana name, although there has been some talk of using the name CJ, with the idea that CJ makes people think hot blonde because of the character Pamela Anderson played in Baywatch. What will be interesting is if they do or don't put pressure on her in that position to post photos on social media of her still dating Rusev after they do the TV breakup. Either way will be extremely telling of how they view the current audience and social media. This has been debated a lot lately with everything that's happened in WWE, especially last week. Which I'm sure we'll talk about briefly at the end of the show. But the idea that Lana would be separated from Rusev and maybe she's going to be a babyface and he'll be a heel, and how do they acknowledge their real life relationship or don't based on the influence that social media has on wrestling now? Do you have a stance on that about, where do we separate TV and real life between these on-screen characters and then their real life social media?
Why waste the time? If it's crystal clear, every time they're on social media, they're talking about where they are or what they're doing or where they're going together, and you're trying to devote TV time to saying it's something else, aren't you just beating your head against the wall?
Yeah.
In the days of kayfabe, if you would have shot this angle, they would have had their breakup, and it would have happened a lot sooner than later. The angle really just was shot with Bobby Lashley, which completed the breakup, correct?
Yeah.
So going back, how many years were they talking about this?
5.
20. Okay. That's a long time to ponder shooting an angle. I just don't think, and another thing, CJ doesn't make me think of Pamela Anderson at her finest. It does. That's just don't jump off the page to me if you say CJ.
No, me neither.
Does it you?
No.
Does it you?
No.
Okay. That's been a long time ago, and I know I'm old, but Baywatch, when it was really hitting on all cylinders, was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So that cuts a lot of the audience out of that CJ thought process. And the fact of the matter is, they don't want to see her Americanized. The thing that was so hot about Lana was she was the hot Russian. She dressed like the hot Russian. She was the Russian female in Rocky. That's who she was supposed to be. And Rusev was the killer. And if you were going to do it, why all of a sudden reveal that, okay, we've been pulling your leg, audience, she's really from San Diego and her name is this, so we just been bullshitting you, but you didn't have to, now you can start believing us. We lied to you all along. Now we'll start telling you the truth. I don't think guys think about this in the writer's room about, going forward and how you're going to present something and when the timing is right and the iron is hot and when you got to shoot that angle.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's, I don't know. It's still going to be a hotly debated topic, but what's not going to be debated is that John Cena and Rusev had chemistry together. I love the WrestleMania match. I was looking forward to the rematch here. Of course, the big spot is Lana getting on the apron. The fans are chanting, "We want Lana." So Rusev tells her to leave and she pouts and goes to the back. ultimately Rusev looks like he's going to finish touching the corners, but Cena blocks him from touching a third corner. And the finish sees both guys touch three corners, and then Cena hits the attitude adjustment and touches the fourth corner for the win. They get plenty of time, 13 minutes and 35 seconds, but John Cena wins 2 in a row here. It felt like once upon a time, Rusev had a lot of steam, but he picks up his first loss at WrestleMania to John Cena, and it's more of the same here. Is this standard fare, or maybe had the office lost a little faith and confidence in Rusev at this point?
Well, he had, the whole thing, and I was in on the conversation to go a year without beating Rusev, because I had experience with Umaga prior to that. Umaga went about that long without getting beat, and he was an incredible character and performer. And I knew Rusev could pull it off if we just chose to not beat him. That doesn't mean he's beating somebody half to death every week on TV. It just means you just don't beat him. There's no reason to beat him. And it worked. And he was hot going into the Mania match. Now, the problem with this match is when you have a chain match that I listened to the commentary on the front side of it. And I think Michael Cole said there has never been a chain match, Russian chain match on WWE television. Now, I know I heard that, unless I'm completely losing my mind. You know the reason why there's never been one?
Why has there never been one?
Because it's a PG product. And when you got 20 feet, 15 to 20 feet of thick steel chain strapping two guys together, don't you think after 15 minutes somebody needs to be bleeding?
Yes.
Nobody hit anybody in the head with that weapon that was perfectly legal to use. It was the same rules as a strap match, but the difference is you can hit somebody in the head with a strap and not necessarily bust them open. You got a verified weapon in your hands, which they just did to touch the 4 posts, and that's the end of it. No one really got brutalized. Certainly no one was bleeding. It was just a waste of a chain match, because to me, having a chain in that ring means somebody's going to get brutalized, and no one did. And it just made for just a lackluster. It was a souped up strap match. That's all it was. Now, food for thought. We're back to the Monday morning quarterbacking deal. If you saw the pop that Lana got, and she did, she got a nice pop. And when she got thrown out of there, Rusev had some heat.
Yeah.
Let's just say if he had wrapped that chain around his hand, let's pull the plug here a little bit and let him beat Cena to a pulp and pinned him 1, 2, 3, and he's bleeding to death. Lana comes down and saves Cena that night. You think you'd have a baby face of the company the next day?
Absolutely.
That's how easy it would have been just to tweak it. You would have protected the match. The next time you had a Russian chain match, it would have meant something. And you would have, right then, that night, that was a hot deal. Going by the reaction that I saw when she got tossed, Rusev, they booed Rusev out of the building when he threw her out of there.
Yes, they did.
That would have been the place to pull the trigger right there.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.